Hello, welcome to Unit 4, Lesson 4. I'm Professor Blackman. Today we're going to be talking about factoring trinomials when your leading term is 1. So in this, what you're going to do is we're going to compare, and after a little bit of practice, you should be able to do each of these in, a few moments. So I have these 4 examples, and as you notice, they're all 5 and 6. The only thing that's different is that they're positives and negatives. So when we are factoring trinomials, what we are looking for when your leading term is 1 is we need 2 numbers that multiply to give our back term, which is the 6, and add to give our middle term. So what we are trying to do is create these binomials that give us this trinomial when it's multiplied out. So that's our process of factoring. So the only way to get x squared is an x and an x. So that will be true for every single one of these when the leading term is 1. So we can quickly see that they will all be this, because they all have an x squared in front, so the only way to get that. All right, now our back term is 6, so and our middle term is 5. So if we need something that gives us a multiplied to give us our c, and add to give us our b. So when we look at our factors of 6, we have 1 and 6. We have 2 and 3, and we have -1 and -6, and -2 and -3. When we add those together, we get 7, we get 5, we get -7, and we get -5. So for this one right here, we want these two. So it's x plus 2 and x plus 3. And again, remember that factoring is the opposite of multiplication, and so we can use multiplication to check our factoring. So x times x, x squared, 2 times 3 gives you 6. Multiply the middle 2, that's 2x. Multiply the outer 2, that's 3x. 2x and 3x gives us the 5x in the middle. All right, at the bottom here, we have x squared minus 5x plus 6. And so that would be this one right here, giving us that minus 5 in the middle. So it's x minus 2 and x minus 3. All right, now let's look at this other example. So we need to have our back term multiply to give us -6, and our middle term add to give us a plus 5. So because it's a negative c, the only way to get a negative number is to multiply a positive and a negative. So the factors of -6 are -1 and 6, 1 and -6, -2 and 3, and 2 and -3. If we add those together, we get 5, we get -5, we get 1, and we get -1. And so if you look right here, we have that b of 5. We want to use x plus 6 and x minus 1. And now in this next one, we need the -5, and so that would be that one right there. So a -6 and a positive 1. Now, I've been factoring a long time, and I've looked at a bunch of different examples, and here's some things that I notice. If your back sign is positive, so like, for instance, in our first examples here, our back sign is positive. The only way to get positive, like here and here, is you have to have both your signs will always be the same. Because in order to get positive, you have to multiply 2 positives or 2 negatives. And so in order to get a negative, you have to have opposite signs. So here you see 1 negative, 1 positive, and here you see 1 negative, 1 positive. Here, we have a 2 and a 3, and we have a 2 and a 3. It's the 2 that add to give us our middle term. We're adding 2 negatives to get that middle negative term. When the back sign is negative, the bigger number will always carry the sign. So in this one, it's plus 5x, so we get plus x. And the bottom one, it's negative 5x, so we use negative 6. Well, that's because of absolute value. We need to have the larger negative to get the negative in the middle, or the larger positive to get the positive in the middle. So these are some of the things that I have noticed while I've been working these problems, and I hope that that will help you as you work through yours. So let's go ahead and start working on some examples. Okay, so in this one, the only way to get x squared is x and x. And how do we get a 36? What are two numbers that multiply to give you 36 and add to give you 13? So this is a 36, and we need to add to get 13. Multiply to get 36. So we can look at our factors of 36, which are 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, and I'm going to stop right there because I know 4 plus 9 is 13. So x plus 4, x plus 9. And again, I know both of these will be positive because the back sign's positive and the middle sign's positive. So now we have a variable of t, so we put a t there. Back sign's positive, so both of our signs will be the same. This is a negative and negative. What are two numbers that multiply to give you 15 and add to give you negative 8? And multiply to give us 15. So 1 and 15, that's 16. Nope. So this is negative. We should focus only on the negative ones. Negative 3 and negative 5. And that's what we want. Negative 3 and negative 5. And we can always check t times t squared, negative 3 times negative 5, positive 15 in the back. Middle terms give us negative 3, outer terms give us negative 5. All right, let's look at another example. All right, so now we have a negative. So p and p, one of these will be positive, one of these will be negative. Okay, so we need two numbers that add to give 3 and multiply to give us negative 54. So 1 and 54, negative 1 and 54. Divide, it's an even number, so 2 and 27. And again, I know my middle number is positive, so I'm only focusing on the positive because this is going to give me 53. This will give me 25, and we need this number on this left column to be 3. Okay, negative 3 and 18. That would give you 15. Negative 6 and 9, and that gives us 3. So that's the one that we want. So a positive 9 and a negative 6. Okay. X and x, two numbers that multiply give us 6, add to give us 5. That's 2 and 3. I've already worked that one today. All right. Now, if you notice here, this one's a little out of order. So we definitely want to rearrange it and put x squared out first, 5x, and then negative 14. Now, what are two numbers that multiply to give you 14 and add to give you the 5 in the middle? So one will be positive, one will be negative. 14 only has factors 1 and 14 and 2 and 7. So that one can be done pretty quickly. So it's a positive 7 and a negative 2. All right. Here, if you notice, our powers change, but the only way to get x to the 6, we're going to use x to the third here and x to the third here. And I'm going to put plus, plus, back sign's positive, so they both get the middle sign. And what are two numbers that multiply to give you 18 and add to give you 11? And we should use 9 and 2. So x to the third times x to the third is x to the sixth. 9 times 2 is 18. Middle is 9x to the third. Outer is 2x to the third. 9x to the third plus 2x to the third gives you 11x to the third in the middle. All right, so with our final examples, you'll notice that some of these will have a GCF. Now, a lot of times you're not told that in the directions, but it is something that you will need to look out for. If you notice right here, these are quickly, you can see that they're all even numbers. So we're going to factor out a 2. And that's going to leave x squared minus 4x minus 45. Now, factoring out a 2 also makes these numbers easier to work with. So we need to factor it to the binomial, to the two binomials. And so this is a multiple of 5. And so I'm going to always try that multiple of 5 first. And we get x minus 9, x plus 5. Negative 9 times 5 gives you negative 45. Negative 9 plus 5 gives you negative 4 in the middle. All right. If you notice here, these all contain a y. And this term here is negative. So I'm going to rearrange the order. Plus 4y squared plus 32y. Now they all contain a y, so I'm going to factor that out. And our leading term is negative, so I'm going to factor that out as well. Y squared minus 4y minus 32. Now I need two numbers that multiply to give me negative 32 and add to give me negative 4. And so we have this two binomials that we need to factor to. So we have a negative and a positive. Bigger number should be negative, and it is 8 and 4. Negative 8 times 4 gives you negative 32. Negative 8 plus 4 gives you negative 4. All right, that's all I have for you today. Happy studying.